are all full suspension mountain bikes going to end up looking the same? Al, you believe that's going to be the case, and you've got a theory as to why, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. For years, bike designers have been trying to put the shock as low as possible in the frame, and for good reason. By positioning the shock in the belly of the frame, it lowers the overall center of gravity of the bike and improves the handling.
Okay, so surely then all bikes now should look the same?
No, because there's a new kid on the block that's driving frame development, and it's this. And it's the range extender.
Yeah, so range extenders, I mean, they're a necessary evil on kind of mid-power lightweight e-bikes like that. But we're also seeing them appear on full-fat, like full-powered e-bikes as well.
Like the new Merida E160, yeah. And the catch is that range extenders are pretty heavy. So it's really important where you position them on the bike.
Okay, so how heavy? What are we talking about here?
Okay, so at the light end of the scale, we're looking at like 160 watt hours. Range extender weighs just under a kilo, like the one that comes on the Specialized Levo SL. But then on that Merida, it's a 360 watt hour range extender, and it weighs 3 kilos.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of weight. So
exactly.
How does that compare to an air shock then?
So even a pretty chunky air shock like this, like the Fox Float Ace, that only weighs like 500 grams. So there's a huge difference in weight. So that's why it's key where you position the range extender, not the shock.
So is that why we're seeing a lot more brands reposition the shock underneath the top tube?
Exactly. And the new Whyte E-Lyte 150 and the Specialized Turbo Levo SL, they're the template for this design because they position the range extender kind of as low and rearward as possible within the frame layout.
So you're saying that all bikes are going to end up looking like the Specialized or the Whyte?
Well, yeah, kind of, but like maybe not all of them, but it's definitely going to be the design that gives you the most freedom for where you can put the range extender. If we compare those bikes to the Santa Cruz Heckler SL, like that's a lower link-driven VPP design, so the shock's really low in the frame, but that basically dictates where the water bottle cage goes, and where the water bottle cage goes is where the range extender goes, and that's further up and further forward in the down tube, which definitely is an optimum.
So I guess it's lucky for Santa Cruz that the Fazua system has a 430 watt hour internal battery, which is pretty big, and there's no range extender.
Exactly. And you don't need one straight. It's probably the only lightweight mid-powered e-bike that you don't need the range extender straight away, right? But it does beg the question, like, will Santa Cruz go back to having a shock under the top tube, just like on the current Blur LT? Even if it's not as good a solution for the suspension layout, but it's a much better solution for positioning your range extender.
So one brand that springs to mind that's changed its layout recently to this kind of system is Cube, right?
Yeah, on the new Stereo Hybrid, was it 144 and 155, Cube's actually switched from having a vertical shock position to a horizontal one where the shock's now under the top tube for that very reason, right? Because it allows them to put the bottle cage lower in the frame and put the range extender in there if you need one.
And that's a bike with a Bosch SX motor, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So is that something you see Cube doing to all of its bikes then?
Not yet, but I definitely think it'll happen down the line. And the reason for that is because brands like to maintain like continuity of design. So when you look at a bike, you know which brand it is. I could totally see the range extenders for e-bikes driving the design of analog bikes too, so they'll all look the same.
Yeah, so Trek's another brand with a kind of vertical shock position, isn't it, on their lightweight e-bike?
Yeah, and it's less than optimal for fitting a range extender. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why the TQ powered Fuel EXE came with a removable battery, because it's got a 360 watt hour battery, and the range isn't great with the TQ system. So actually running a 2 full-size battery setup is probably a better option than running the full-size battery and a range extender, especially when the range extender is what I'd consider in the wrong place.
Oh, come on, Al. So are you saying that all brands are going to end up looking like Specialized?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, it's not the first time it's happened, right?
I mean, how many bikes have got a FSR 4-bar linkage rear end?
Yeah, with a swing link.
Or with a yoke.
Yeah, and
they do.
They're
smart guys, they drive design. But the key takeaway is that sticking to an old suspension design that worked well on an analog bike can be really problematic on e-bikes. So take Chime, for example. I like the Twin Link Maestro design, but the layout forces a longer than average chainstay on an e-bike. So again, that's not ideal. And while it works okay on an XL frame size, it's way less than ideal on the size small.
And so that's not the only problem with a vertical shock, right?
Yeah, so it stacks the shock on top of the motor, so standover height can't be reduced dramatically, which again limits seat post insertion and can be a real problem for riders on smaller size bikes, just like long chainstays are.
Okay, so one brand that won't be doing this and won't look like everyone else is Scott, right?
Totally, because like if you look at the new Voltage, it's got the shock hidden inside the seat tube. And they've actually placed the range, they've been really smart. They've got the shock inside the seat tube, and then they placed the range extender vertical, so basically in line with the seat tube. So while it might be a little bit higher than having it turned sideways and low, it's still centered on the bike, so that could really improve the handling. So that's just clever thinking, right? Yeah, it may not be an ideal solution though, Danny, because just like having like the range extender and the bottle cage mount further up the down tube, riders on smaller frame sizes sometimes have to forgo that just because there's not enough kind of space inside the front triangle to fit it all in.
And so that brings us full circle, right? So putting the shock underneath the top tube just frees up space within the front triangle.
Absolutely. And in the same way that motors force brands to rethink their suspension designs, range extenders are doing that too. So that's why I think most bikes will end up looking like the Whyte, the Specialized Levo SL, the new Cubes, and the Merida, because it's the design that allows you to put the range extender in the optimum position, at least for now, until cell density increases, right? Because once that happens, and then the main battery can be made smaller or a bigger range with the same volume, then basically you can just have it in the down tube like we do currently.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, amazing, right?
Okay, right, so I get all that, it makes a lot of sense. I still think though that brands are gonna hate being like pigeonholed so that they've got to make all their products look like their competitors. So I think there's still gonna be enough variety to make things interesting.
Yeah, I agree, but that's the best layout.
Okay, thanks very much. So let us know in the comments what you think. Do you care about all this? Do you mind if all bikes look the same? Let us know. Thank you very much for watching.